I'm here with Aaron from Solemn Vision to talk about their latest record, Despite the Rise of the Sun. How's things going with you?
Everything's going great. It just dropped and all the feedback has been positive. So, of course, I'm ecstatic about that. And yeah, so far so good. These past couple of days have been great.
So, when you sit back and you look at the work that went into putting this album together, how was the journey, the path between records? Was it bumpy? Was it difficult? Was this an album that was easy for you guys to get to?
So when it came to like the writing process, you know, doing it, it was just like these were songs that we were just already writing after the first album. So like we were just already just like, in full throttle from the beginning. And then we just happened to have this amount of songs ready to go. We just like, let's just make another album. So it was just a very organic thing. And we were just sitting on it for 2 years, right? All these songs were recorded, done, and ready. But around this time, we're doing it right. So I guess if there was challenge, it was just I guess being patient for so long while sitting on what we have now.
When you guys started working on this record, did you have a vision for what you wanted the album to be, or did that vision perhaps start to become more clear with every single passing song that you guys start to put together?
Definitely the latter. It was like as we were like hearing all the songs, like I have a very like I'm very big on vision, like not to make a pun, but like I had like an idea in my head, and then Carlos had an idea in his head, and then we all come together and we collab. That's like the beautiful part about the band. And so like and we all like each other's ideas usually. So like we just had like this idea that just worked, and we just said yeah. I guess that's like a very vague way to explain it, but that's the simplest way I can.
Did you guys look at anything from the debut record and thought to yourselves, we could have done better here and there, so let's sure we do better here and there when it comes to making now this new album?
Oh, for sure, for sure, for sure. And I'm sure that's the case with every band's, like debut album, like, they'll listen back and, just cringe at certain parts. And if Carlos was here too, he'll say that like, he'll like, talk all types of crap about his drumming on the first album, but I loved it. And I can say the same thing about my voice on the first album, but other people love it too. So, we can just try to stay open to that. But we definitely wanted to push ourselves more with this one. And it just, we made songs that we wanted to actually hear as a band, because this lineup is playing this lineup's songs, because the last album was with other members before I joined, and before even Caden joined, before Carlos joined. So it's just like a whole new breath of fresh air with this album.
When you guys go into the studio, do you talk about what the production of the album needs to be like in order for the sound of the band to be represented to its fullest?
Something like that. Like when we were in the studio and we recorded certain songs that had like synth parts, one of us just had the idea of like, okay, that synth should go there, piano, violin, acoustic guitar should go here, because it just sonically just came to us. So, and then like, there are effects too. There's a breath thing that I do that was Carlos's idea, and that's an avarice. Just we just just what did what natural to us. So
Where do the vocals for you need to be in order for the band to have that solemn vision sound that you want the band to have?
so what do you mean? Like
Like,
where the vocals
in
need
the
to be?
mix, like, do you want your vocals to be in a specific spot? Do you want them to be up front? Do you want them to be a little bit more deeper? Like, where do you feel like your vocals fit the best?
So it kind of like you kind of described it best in a way during that one reaction you did with your son for Perch Demons. And you kind of highlighted it where it's like I have like this little pocket where I don't try to be like the full like frontal thing. I kind of just like use my voice as an instrument. So I kind of like treat it like the same way. So like, even parts that don't have lyrics to it, I still want my voice to be like there in some ways to add like, a little bit of atmosphere or something to it, a little touch of something. So I'm not trying to do like, the craziest, like, Will Ramos, Travis Ryan thing these days. Can I do it? Yes. But it's just for this genre of music, this is what calls for what I do. And, I have other projects that where I do all that stuff, but, Solemn Vision is my main thing. And so this is what feels comfortable for me for writing with this and my voice.
By the way, I thought your performance on this album was the best I've ever heard you sing. Like,
Oh, thank you very much.
like it was spot on. You had such a great delivery, intensity, aggression. Like you brought a lot to the table with your vocal performance, not just one of those linear outputs that what you get in the first song is what you're going to get throughout the whole record. It almost like you slightly adapted yourself to what the song really needed it from you. How much work have you put in order to be able to do that on an album like this?
Well, so there are 3 songs that I've written personally on guitar and did vocals as well. So that's Father from the Flame, Cerebral Labyrinth, and Unfinished Tapestry. I wrote the instrumentals to that. And when it came to writing those, it was like I kind of had the idea of like kind of like the whole, rubbing your stomach, patting your head thing and kind of doing the song and playing at the same time. But then also said to myself, like, all right, I'm not gonna, do that, of course, live. Um, but when it came to like the other songs that were like had lyrics written by the other guys, um, I just try to find that pocket. And it kind of comes, natural to me too, because one thing about the pandemic, I hate to bring this up, but it gave me a time to like learn new skills when I didn't have a time to play shows. So I started learning how to freestyle, right? And I just started like, just filtering out all like the stuff that could give me writer's block and everything, and all the lyrics I was able to come up with, it started just flowing naturally. And also, what helps with these songs too is that I'll hear something, and if it sounds like a certain theme to me, I kind of write about it, you know? So
It,
like Adept, so I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, go ahead, go ahead.
So like Adept to the Rape, right? That's a song kind of sort of like alluding to like the Headless Horseman, like Sleepy Hollow.
Mhm.
And how I came up with that was because like the opening riff kind of sounds like a galloping type of thing. And I just thought about like the Headless Horseman. So things like that just kind of happen naturally. I'm a nerd.
I, I was just gonna say that for me, if you asked me to sing in a song, it would be a lot easier if I'm writing the lyrics, because then I can have an emotional connection to what I'm writing, and then obviously that's going to have an impact in my delivery.
Mhm.
How is it? How is it for you to adapt to something that has been written for you and not necessarily written by you?
Well, truth be told, I have a theater background, right? When I was in school and growing up, so I always had like I guess a knack for reading scripts and just getting into character. So when it came to like what the other guys were writing, I was really feeling for what they were writing, especially Sea of Trees, because Sea of Trees is a very personal song, and I wish Anthony would talk about that song. And we'll talk about that song a little bit more. But that's a very personal song, so I had to give it what it deserved out of respect for my brother in the band, and that's how I would do it for any song I'm doing. Like, if I'm like making a song about like, some really brutal death metal thing, I'm gonna picture myself as like some, tank top, sweaty dude or whatever, waiting a chainsaw, something like that. But like if I'm writing for like Solemn Vision and it's a song that's a little bit more like, melancholy or such like that. Like, I'll picture like, windowsill, rain on the top, like, on the window type of things. I just create the image in my head just from having that love of, cinema, movies, and just, the nerd stuff.
When you were describing that tank top sweating thing, you just kind of described everybody in 200 stab wounds. Well done. Who's your biggest vocal influence?
So I have a lot going these days, but right now the guy that I like idolize the most sometimes is Kyo from this band called Duran Gray. And I came across him fairly recently. Like let's say like 5 years ago or so. And when I was, you know, I was already in a band. I was doing vocals, so I was taking influences from like Trevor Sturnad, rest in peace. I was taking influences from like Nurgle from Behemoth, and Death Clock, Nathan Explosion, and Frank Mullen from Suffocation. More about like the enunciation and such, right? Because I didn't want to just be just screaming and not saying nothing, even though metal is what it is, you know. So when it came to finding a style where I could like really execute emotion, when I came across Darren Gray, that was like, okay, I gotta study this a little bit more. And that kind of made it my own thing. And this recent tour, I was able to kind of find my own thing now. So yeah, it's those are a couple of names.
Do you have ambitions or hopes that one day I'll be sitting here interviewing a young cat from New York or from somewhere else, and they mention you, Aaron Harris, as one of their biggest influences vocally?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I answered that too quick.
There's no shame in that. I mean, that's something to aspire, obviously.
Yeah, I would like that. I like, it's happened before. I have been, called somebody's favorite vocalist, and I don't know how to take compliments like that sometimes, but it's really cool, just knowing that I could have that effect on somebody, and that can if that can carry on, you know, more and more on to like another generations or like a band where like they start because of what my band sounds like or because my vocals sound like what more could I really ask for in my contribution?
When you look at yourself and you look at the band, which one has been driving the other? Has your personal growth helped develop the growth of the band, and how much the growth of the band has helped develop your own personal growth?
It almost just intermingles, like the band can only be as strong as the members. So we have to be able to hold ourselves accountable and be able to be our best versions of ourselves when time calls for it, And, especially at times where we're on tour and we don't have like the luxury of affording like every hotel and we have to sleep in the van, we gotta like, deal with that. So being in a band like this builds character, but we're not like hating each other or anything like that. We're just a bunch of dudes just like like metal, like going to shows, and like we all still go to shows, which is really great, you know so we're able to just come together and do this, and just for the love of the music. So knowing that people are also drawn to our like friend group with that part of it, it also helps with it. So it's like the whole band itself kind of is like creating its own lore and story, and that's really cool.
Having Carlos in the band, and obviously with his experience within the music business now, with the role that he has, does that help you guys navigate those murky waters a little bit better?
Yes and no. Like it does open up conversations for sure, right? But like in the case of like who we know and talk to, like me, for example, like I was already touring before I was in Solemn Vision. So like I was already doing festivals and I was already playing with like, bands and such and creating my own contacts. And Carlos and I were just friends on Facebook before we even joined the band. And it just so happened after Anthony asked me like 3 times to join the band, finally did, and me and Carlos were able to collab. So he has his contacts. I got mine. Anthony's got his. Caden got his. Mauricio has his, and we all just kind of, make it work.
Make it work.
So how does it feel though? It just feels like natural because we don't try to talk to everybody like they are suits. You know what I'm trying to say? Like we want to talk to people like they're people, and hopefully we get the same in return.
Makes sense to me. What's the plans? So the album is out right now. What's next for you guys? Any tours, any shows? Like, what do you guys have on the schedule for the rest of 2023 and perhaps even into 2024?
So we were thinking about doing a listening party this month, but we don't really see that happening with the scheduling. So at the moment, we just have our CD release show in November. So that is going to be pretty cool. I don't have the flyer in front of me, but all the details are on social media and everything, so everybody can know about that. But that's gonna be a really like bonker show. And then we are actually playing the pre-party, um, the heavy metal beach party in Florida, Miami, right at the Clevelander, and it actually takes place like a day or two before 70,000 tons of metal. So it's like in conjunction thing. So they asked us to play that. We're playing like second to last, and it's going to be really fun. I think the last interview I had, I even know it until the guy said it, that we're playing on a rooftop. So
Wow, that is
that's
cool, man.
that is awesome.
Yeah, that is really cool. Are you guys hoping to get maybe on some tour packages come 2024 so you can be a little bit more spread out?
Oh yeah, for sure. That would definitely be one of the goals. It's just a matter of like, who wants us?
It's a difficult time period. It really is. It's a struggle. It's a struggle because it's not just getting on the package and then it's making everything then make financial sense for a band. As you know, these days it's really hard to be out there on the road.
Yeah, for sure. And that's part of the reason why Carlos and I, we have our own booking agency, where we actually help out touring bands that want to pass through New York. So with all like, the connections and influences that Carlos and I have, we hit up, venues, bookers and everything, whatever help we can get, and get bands that we know that want to play a show on a weekend or even on a weekday. Yeah, we have a band coming through from like California, from Canada, from wherever, and we hook them up with a show, and we make sure they leave with something, all the time, and then we keep it going because we know how hard it is. So we
That
keep
is
ourselves
really
busy.
fucking cool, man. That is really fucking cool what you guys are doing. That's amazing. Let me ask you
Mhm.
this last question. The album is out. You guys are working hard. Do you have goals in mind on what do you want this album to achieve for you guys and even beyond this record so that the band can continue to grow?
Oh man, see, I would love it if like this album could put us on a bill with like a band like the Black Dahlia Murder or like Death Clock, right? But then like if it happened that early, I don't want to feel stagnant, I don't want to feel like, oh, that's it. I played my favorite bands. So now I can't, bitter myself. I don't want to get comfortable. You know what I'm trying to say? So I I would just like to see where the album goes. Like I don't want to like read too many reviews or read too many comments or anything like that. Like, well, I'm more looking forward to the live shows, right? Because that's what's gonna tell it to me, right? Because with the last album, when we were just playing like the same songs from like the first album over and over again to a point where it felt like, all right, we kind of need to, do something a little different. And that's kind of how like the songs, yeah, that's kind of how the songs kind of came out a little bit more aggressive. If you can kind of hear on the second album, because like we were like, all right, we can really hit home with these shows. So yeah, that's what I hope will happen with even with the third album. We're already writing that. So, it's just let's see what happens.
Well, Aaron, thank you very much for your time today. I honestly really appreciate talking to you. Incredible vocal performance, dude. That was
Thank
outstanding.
you so much. Thank
Outstanding.
you.
You really killed it on this record. Let Carlos know that he needs to lower the drums a little bit. I felt like they were a little bit high. But outside of that, your vocal performance was on point and definitely a much more aggressive sounding album, both musically and vocally for sure, all around. So congratulations, man. Good job on the on that record.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And listen, I'm a huge fan of your channel too. So thank you even so much for even giving me the opportunity to talk to you.
Uh,
So
it's my pleasure to have the time to talk to you always, always. We love you guys from that time we did that reaction video. Nothing but love for you and for the rest of the band and for Carlos. He's a cool dude. And like I said, the first thing that I noticed when I was listening to the record is like, holy shit, this dude, he brought it. I'm not quite sure who pissed on your cornflakes before going into the studio, but whoever did it, they did a great job because it definitely gave you the motivation you needed. Outstanding job, man.
thank you, man. Listen, I love my cornflakes. Don't mess with my cornflakes.
Take care.
All right, take care, man.